My brother's wife, Dana, had a way of critiquing things like she was judging a cooking show. Except no one had asked her to. One Sunday evening, we were all gathered around my kitchen island when she stared at the casserole I'd pulled from the oven and said, that's a bold choice, bold in her vocabulary. Man, questionable. Everyone stiffened. My nephew frowned. My dad pretended to check his phone, and my niece sank into her hoodie like she wanted to disappear. I felt my jaw tighten, but I didn't let it show. Instead, I leaned on the counter, offering her a calm smile she definitely didn't deserve. Funny thing, I said, I'm not the one who made dinner tonight. If you'd met our family a few years earlier, you might have thought we were living the suburban dream, quiet cul-de-sac. Easy weekend barbecues, kids playing tag until the streetlights switched on. I worked as a freelance illustrator back then, spending my days helping clients design cozy, cheerful spaces. Meanwhile, I was constantly trying to hold together the fraying edges of my own family dynamic. My brother, bless him, always tried to keep drama at bay. My dad, aging faster than he admitted, leaned on us more each year. And then there was Dana, who approached family gatherings the way some people approach auditions, certain the spotlight belonged to her at first. I didn't realize how often she floated off to the couch while the rest of us juggled her kids, her messes, and the emotional debris she left in her wake. I've always loved children. So when her youngest clung to my arm, or her middle child followed me like a tiny shadow, it felt natural. But gradually, those occasional favors turned into obligations I never agreed to. If something spilled, I handled it. If snacks needed prepping, I was already reaching for cutting boards. Dana would be nearby, scrolling TikTok like she was on a break from a job she never clocked into. And I always trying to keep the peace, kept stepping in. The night she insulted the casserole was hardly the first time she took a swing at me. But it was the first time she did it loud enough to echo. Her daughter's face tightened, her shoulders folding inward like she had already memorized the shape of embarrassment. Something inside me shifted, then quietly, like a rope starting to fray. After that night, the air between our homes changed. Dana carried on as if nothing had happened, sweeping through my dad's house with her usual dramatic flair. But the kids felt the difference. My brother felt it. Even I did. The older boy got louder, angling for attention, while the younger two hovered near me, waiting for warmth they rarely got from their mother. One afternoon, I found the youngest sitting under the maple tree in my yard, poking at the dirt with a stick. When I came outside, she didn't even look up, just mumbled, "Is Mom mad at us about the other night?" The question hit me right in the chest. She didn't know that she and her sister had been the ones who helped prepare that meal. They'd stood on stools by my counter, stirring noodles and sprinkling cheese, giggling every time their hands brushed mine. They were so proud. And Dana had dismissed it without giving them a single glance. I sat beside her in the grass and said gently, "I don't think she was mad at you. I think she just didn't think about how her words sounded." The little girl's eyes filled, but she blinked the tears back. "She never thinks about it," she whispered, not spitefully, just sadly. That evening I told my brother, and he let out a long, tired breath like someone finally hearing what their heart had known for a long time. A few days later, during school pickup, the little one bypassed her mother completely and wrapped her arms around my waist. "Can we go to your house?" she whispered. "I don't want to cause trouble today." That was the moment everything crystallized. This wasn't about a casserole or a rude comment. It was about a child who didn't believe she could make her mother happy. The real tipping point arrived out of nowhere. Dana barged into my dad's living room one Wednesday afternoon, dropped a pile of mail onto the coffee table, and announced, "I'm filing for separation. The kids and I will be staying here for a while. Dad, I'll take the spare room. The girls get the office. We'll figure out the rest." My father stared at her like she'd suddenly started speaking in riddles. My brother looked defeated, his shoulders slumped. The kids froze in the doorway. Then Dana swung her gaze to me, her tone shifting into managerial mode. "Since we'll be here, I need you to handle most of the cooking. It just makes sense you work from home. Dad's exhausted and Mark's swamped at the shop. I'll Venmo you a little something every month." Something inside me hardened, not anger, but clarity. "Dana," I said calmly, "I have my own house to run. My own job. My own kids. I'm not running your household on top of mine." She rolled her eyes. "You're home all day. Just make bigger portions. It's not that deep." My brother stepped forward then, his voice firmer than I'd heard in years. "Knock it off," he snapped. "She doesn't owe you anything." Dana's face twisted, offended, certain she was a victim. And from that moment on, everything started unraveling faster. Once Dana and the girls moved into my dad's house, the place turned chaotic overnight. Boxes everywhere, dishes stacking up in random places, laundry abandoned on chairs. Dana disappeared for hours, claiming she had errands, while the girls hovered in silence. waiting for anyone to acknowledge them. She'd come home irritated, slamming doors and muttering under her breath. Convinced the world was working against her, I stopped stepping in not because I didn't care, but because I finally realized that helping wasn't helping. Boundaries were the only thing left. If she needed childcare, she needed to arrange it. If she didn't feel like cooking, she could order takeout. If she was overwhelmed, she could seek support that didn't involve using me as a buffer. Dana hated hearing no. Every time I held a boundary, she responded with snide remarks or dramatic sighs that echoed through the halls. The girls grew quieter, their shadows shrinking. I started jotting down little observations not to accuse her, but to understand how we'd gotten to this point. Then, on a cold, gray morning, my dad called, his voice shaky. "She's coming back home," he said, "and she doesn't look good." I'd never heard him sound so defeated. Dana, the queen of dramatics, had always come back sharper than before. But the woman who stepped out of the Uber that afternoon looked undone. Dad called me over within minutes. When I walked in, Dana was standing stiffly near the window. Her arms wrapped around herself like she was holding the pieces together. "They're gone," she said in a hollow voice. Dad asked, "Who, honey?" Her lip trembled. "The kids, all three. Their father has full custody now," she swallowed hard. "They told the judge they didn't want to come back with me." The words seemed to deflate her from the inside. This wasn't her usual dramatic outrage. It was something rawer, more terrified. She went on, her voice rising. "Their father had told the court his home was more stable, less chaotic, and the kids agreed. They didn't even look at her during the hearing." Then she turned to me, her panic sharpening into accusation. "You wanted this, didn't you? You were always stepping in, acting like you knew better." I didn't answer right away. Her grief needed somewhere to land, and for years she'd used me as the nearest surface. Dad tried to calm her, but she wasn't hearing him. "You think you're so perfect," she snapped. "Maybe you should just take my kids since they like you so much." Something inside me settled, not anger, but truth. "Dana," I said quietly, "I never wanted your kids to pick me over you. I just wanted them to feel safe." She scoffed, insisting they'd always known she loved them. I stepped closer, lowering my voice so she'd actually hear me. "Love isn't a guessing game. Kids don't magically understand it just because we think we're showing it." Her expression faltered. I reminded her, gently, of little moments she hadn't noticed, times the kids apologized for things they didn't do. Times they tried to make themselves small to avoid her irritation. Times they mistook her frustration with life as disappointment in them. Her face crumbled. "Why didn't anyone tell me?" she whispered. "We did," I said softly. "You brushed us off." "You brushed them off too." She shook her head, tears welling. "I was drowning. You don't know what that felt like." "Maybe not," I said, "but I know what it felt like for them. And they were drowning too." Dad sat down heavily, wiping his eyes as he listened. Dana's anger dissolved completely, replaced by a kind of fragile, desperate grief I had never seen in her. "I didn't mean to lose them," she whispered. I didn't think I was that bad." Silence hung thick in the air until Dad cleared his throat. "There's something else we need to talk about," he said softly. Dana turned toward him, drained. "Please tell me you're not about to pile more on me," he sighed. "I'm selling the house. I can't keep up with it anymore. I'll be moving into the studio behind Mary's place." Dana blinked rapidly, trying to process it. For the first time, she looked around and realized there was no safety net beneath her, not because we kicked her out, but because she'd stepped off the ledge long before she realized she was falling. She sank onto the couch, covering her face. "I've ruined everything," she cried. I knelt beside her. "You haven't ruined everything, but you are facing consequences. You can rebuild. You just have to be the kind of parent they feel safe coming back to." Dad nodded. "They're still your kids, but they need a mom, not a storm cloud." Outside, my kids and her daughters were running around the yard, play swords clashing, their laughter cutting through the heavy mood inside the house. Life has a way of continuing whether we're ready or not. Dana finally lifted her head, eyes swollen. "Do you really think they'll ever forgive me?" she asked, voice small. I hesitated only long enough to be honest. "I think they can," I said gently, "but you'll have to give them something real to come back to." Over the next few weeks, the shift around our homes was almost palpable. When Dad settled in the little studio behind my house, things felt calmer, lighter even. He spent afternoons teaching the kids card tricks or telling stories from his childhood. The girls adjusted to living with their father far more smoothly than Dana had feared. When they visited, they walked in with easy smiles and stories about art projects, new friends, and class pets. They helped me cook, laughing as they stirred pots without glancing around for criticism. My brother looked less stressed. I felt myself breathing normally again. And Dad, in his softest moments, squeezed my hand and whispered, Thank you for giving us a soft landing. **** Dana kept her distance at first. Short texts, occasional updates, none of the dramatic demands she used to unload on us. I didn't know if she was rebuilding herself or avoiding the world, but for once, the uncertainty didn't scare me. When I think back on everything that happened, I realize the breaking point wasn't the rude comments, or the divorce, or even the custody hearing. It was a quiet moment under a maple tree, when a little girl asked if love had rules she couldn't understand. No child should ever feel that way. And if you've ever been the person trying to protect someone from the people who were supposed to love them most, just know you're not alone. There are so many stories like this, full of hurt and healing and the hard work of becoming better than what you were taught. And sometimes the bravest thing you can do is choose a kinder path, even if you have to walk it first.